Good morning, everybody. I hope you've been enjoying International Welcome Week. My name's Andy Gale. I'm the International Student Support Officer based in Welfare at De Montfort University. You may have met me before. I did a session at the start of the week. Hope you've been enjoying the week. I hope you found it informative. I hope you've enjoyed it, whatever you've managed to attend. I hope it's been good for you and you found it useful. So I think we had one of the sessions this morning, which was the learning and studying session. I think that may have been one of the last events of the week. Hope you've been able to attend whatever you can. If you have missed any of the sessions, they will all be available in due course on the Your DMU welcome page. They'll be available as films very soon, hopefully. So we've got this session today, which is a question and answer session. So we deliberately kind of put this session towards the end of the week. And the reason for that is because we hope lots of your questions have already been answered and you've had chance to talk to some of the various members of staff and other people we've had on stream for you to talk to you about various aspects of living and studying in the UK. So the reason we've arranged this session really is so you can ask us other questions if there's something that's not been answered. The other thing as well is we wanted to have a little bit of a chat really about settling in and arriving at the university. I think on the schedule it says that this session will be a panel of staff. Well, we don't have a panel of staff. We've got me, but we do, I'm very happy to say, have three existing international students here. And the idea of that really is that they can talk a little bit about their experiences of arriving at DMU, and probably they can talk about things and give it the kind of information that as a member of staff I won't know so well. So they'll be able to talk to you about arriving and living and all those kinds of things. I'll introduce them shortly. But the other thing I just wanted to say as well is this session is being recorded. So, you may see it later on the website. Hopefully you will. The other thing is during the course of the session, you'll be able to post questions and we'll try and work through as many of the questions as we can. The other thing about our three students you're going to meet very shortly is if you've been on campus already, you may recognize them because they've been doing our city and campus tours. All right. So you may have seen them before. So without further ado, let me introduce them one by one. So to start with, we've got Priyanka Dave. And Priyanka and all the students, what I'd ask is perhaps if you can just introduce yourself and say a bit about where you're from and who you are.
Hello everyone, I'm Priyanka Dave and I'm from India and I'm studying right now Masters in Advanced Biomedical Science. Welcome.
Thanks, Priyanka. And did you say how long you've been or when you first arrived at DMU?
So I have first arrived in January. So it's just been like 9 months, but it has really been great 9 months.
That's good to hear. Okay, thanks, Priyanka. And next we've got Nabila Omaji.
Hi everyone. So my name is Nabila. I am currently a final year PhD student studying cognitive psychology at the university. I'm originally from Zimbabwe. I moved to the UK in 2014 to start my undergraduate degree, which I also did at DMU in psychology, and I've been here ever since because it's been that amazing.
Thanks, Nabila. And then we've got Dennis Mccall. Hi, Dennis.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Hi. My name is Dennis. I am a first-year PhD student here at De Montfort University. I'm from the beautiful Twin Island Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, which is located in the Caribbean. I have been at DMU since 2019, I think it was, where I started my master's in air transport management and just went on to do my PhD.
Okay, great. Thanks all. So obviously we've got three students from different places with different backgrounds and doing different courses. So there's lots of experience here between them. So perhaps if I start, Priyanka, with you, I think it'd be useful just to perhaps go around initially and just hear really a little bit more about your experience of arriving in the UK, about settling in and the things that you found useful to do that helped you to start to feel comfortable in your new surroundings.
Okay, so I arrived in January, which is like during the COVID time, and so had to do all the things which were like quarantine and everything, do regular COVID testing, and but the good thing is we have at DMU this COVID page which gives out every single detail as to your DMU future, so how to arrive, what to do, what not to do, and everything. So when I first came to the UK, the suggestion I would give is after your, of course, after your quarantine period is over, just go out there on the streets and localize yourself, be familiar with all the surroundings, all and move and go on long walks, which will be really, really good. So that because first it will be that you won't have that much of a coursework, but you will be familiarized with the area and you can go every single where.
Thanks, Priyanka. That's very helpful. And I think, yeah, you mentioned about COVID-19. So there is lots of information on the DMU website. Your DMU Safety is where you can find all the information about COVID. Yeah, so do look out for that. Thanks, Priyanka. And then Nabila, is there anything you want to kind of say about arriving? I think you've been here longer than Priyanka and Dennis, but any sort of things that you did that helped you to settle in?
Yeah, so I actually wasn't able to make it in time for International Welcome Week, which I'm really disappointed with because there have been such great events this week, which is just a nice way for everybody to meet people. But during the Freshers Week, which is also the induction week, my recommendation to students would be just ask questions, talk to people. If you're not sure about something, just find somebody to talk to and ask them. There's always somebody that you can talk to on campus, and that's what I found throughout my studies is that there's always support available. You just need to ask someone, and even if that person doesn't know exactly how to help you, they'll definitely point you towards somebody who can. And I just recommend that you try as many new things as possible. You're in a new country, a new culture. Just explore the culture, explore the city, explore the university. Try new things. I'm sure there's the societies fair happening at some point. Try new society. Try new sport that you've never done before. Just get out of your comfort zone and just make sure you experience as much as you possibly can, because you are paying a lot of money to be here, so you want to make the most of the opportunity that you have.
Thanks, Nabila. And just to, you mentioned the Societies Fair. So actually, I'm pretty certain that it's this afternoon. I haven't got the schedule in front of me, but this afternoon, the Students' Union, they're running an event. It's in person and it's online. So if you're not at the university yet, you can go to the Students' Union website or their Facebook page, and I think they're doing a stream. And the link is in the schedule, the schedule for International Welcome Week. But it's also in person as well. So if you're on campus, do go along to the campus centre, and they're running stuff there in person. So do check that out. Thanks, Nabila. And Dennis, I know the other two have covered quite a lot of ground, but is there anything that you would like to add in terms of your experience of arriving and how you start to settle in?
Mm-hmm. All right. One of the things I would definitely say, Google Maps is your best friend. Don't be afraid to just use Google Maps to just explore the city center. I've been here for 2 years actually, and I still use Google Maps every single week, right, to find different places that I'm going to. Don't be afraid to go out your comfort zone. Don't stick within the box. Try to experience a lot of new things, as Priyanka and Nabila were saying. I would definitely encourage you to get a railway card. Go and explore the other cities as well. Take some day trips, definitely visit the green spaces that we have here in Leicester. I'm a nature person. I really love the outdoors. So I would definitely encourage persons to visit these different places. Yeah.
Thanks, Dennis. And talking about trips, we do have a trips program that we organise in International Student Support. So we'll start to email people about that soon. I think we'll do our first trip in October. So we run these trips usually every month during term time. So do look out for information about that as well. And I think all of you mentioned about trying things, about stepping out of your comfort zone. I think that was a familiar theme that you've all mentioned, and just checking things out. So there is an awful lot going on at the university. So yeah, do look at what's happening. And I think one of you, I can't remember who, mentioned about support. So yeah, there is an awful lot of support available for you here. So apart from our team, International Student Support, there's also staff in the faculties that will be able to assist you and advise you. And of course, there's been all the various teams that have presented this week. So do check out all those things. So the support with living, there's lots of support with studying as well. So have a look on our web pages for more information about all those different teams and different provision. So in terms of starting to meet people, I guess from what you're all saying, the way you met people was by kind of stepping out and just doing things. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Just by getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, definitely. And joining like different clubs and societies as well is a very good way for you to actually make friends. So for example, for me, the first set of friends that I made was actually through African Caribbean Society, I think it was. And that was even before I came to the UK. I was already in the group chat, just having conversations, and when I came to the UK, some persons on the chat were actually able to take me into town to Wilco, to get a duvet, get some nice little stuff from a room and what's not. So these societies, you actually get a lot of friendships from them, and some of them even friends for life, to be honest. Yeah. So definitely encourage you guys to join the different societies. Yeah.
I think what you'll quickly realize is most people are in the same position as you. They're nervous. They've moved away from home. Even people who are local to the UK, a lot of people have come from different cities and they're also just as nervous as you are. So just be a little bit brave. Talk to them. You just never know where the relationship might go from there. And you might meet other people. And definitely societies, I think, is a very, very good way to make friends. But also if you become a student ambassador, because that's where I made all of my friends, was student ambassadors, because there were loads of different people from all over the university studying different courses from different countries. So that was a good opportunity for me to make friends. And there's loads of different things and people that you can meet across the university. Just get involved as much as possible.
Thanks.
Yeah, so even I would like to add something like with student ambassadors, you can make many more friends. While working, you can have different course mates, and so you can get really, really good advices with that.
Absolutely. And I can see we've just had a question come in about student societies. So that's, how do you join a society? So I think the answer really is just get in touch with them. So they've got their session this afternoon, I mentioned. So they'll be I'm sure publicizing about how you can get involved. If you go on the Student Union website, there's a big list of societies, and I think you'll probably be quite surprised at the range and breadth of things that are available. So whether you're interested in politics or cocktails or Harry Potter or whatever, or Star Wars, there's a society for you. So, and there really is a Harry Potter society, by the way. So do have a look on the website. That's probably the best way of finding out what's available. If you click on the tiles on the list of societies, it will take you through to contact information. There's usually a web page, there's usually an email address, and sometimes there's a Facebook group as well. So that's the best thing to do. Just have a look on their website. Or if you're on campus, just drop into the campus centre, and I'm sure there'll be someone from Students' Union who'll be able to talk to you about it. The other thing is Students' Union have a lot of sports societies as well. So in addition to all the leisure stuff and the kind of personal interests, they have the recreational sport. And also, Dennis mentioned Afro-Caribbean Society. There's quite a lot of different national societies. So there's certainly Nigerian, there's certainly Chinese and Indian. I think there certainly was a kind of international society as well, like a general international society. So just have a look, and there's tons of stuff there. The other thing, of course, what Students' Union always say is if you don't see the society that you're interested in, you can always start it yourself. So that's worth thinking about as well. But yeah, society is definitely a good way to meet people. I think another thing I was just going to mention was just about food, because just talking about settling in, and of course, I think one thing that's helps students settle in is to get the kind of food that they like. Did you find that you could access the kind of, the food that you like in Leicester? Should we go with Dennis first?
Yeah, definitely. For me, one of the things that I was kind of worried about was would I have been able to get like certain foods I would get from back home. But luckily, on Narborough Road, which is actually one of the most diverse roads in Leicester, there are actually supermarkets and restaurants from all around the globe. So for me, there are there are two Afro-Caribbean supermarkets on my street. So luckily, I don't have to walk too far in order to just get something like Nido or Milo, get proper Scotch bonnet pepper or yam and them kind of something there, right? So that's one thing that I really, really like. In terms of other foods, um, there are a few restaurants that are on Narborough Road as well and inside town. To be quite honest, when I first came out, I was very much sheltered in terms of the different food I would eat. But I think since I've met Nabila, since we've actually become really good friends, she's tried as much as possible to widen my palette to take me to a lot of different food places. So I gotta give shout out to Nabila for that. She's my foodie in Korean. Yeah.
Thanks, Dennis. Do you want to add to that, Nabila?
Yeah, sure. To be honest, I wasn't too fussed about finding things from home because I was really keen to try all the new things here, which is really, really exciting. And it was actually through just going and walking around and eating at places by myself that I know now where all the good places are, and I can take my friends and people and recommend stuff. But they are, like Dennis mentioned, loads of international supermarkets everywhere. There's actually a few in town. There's the one on Narborough Road. There's also the market in town, which I found very, very useful because as a student, obviously, we are a bit on a budget. And so being able to buy like a whole bucket of apples for £1 just meant that I could still eat a bit healthier whilst also eating all the other stuff. So just having an apple a day, making sure that I have that, if no other greens for the rest of the day. But there's loads of places that you can try from different cultures and cuisines, especially on Narborough Road. I think it's the most diverse city in like food-wise. You can try Sri Lankan food. They've got Turkish restaurants there as well. There's a new Jamaican place that's opened up, which is really nice. Even in town, just last night I tried a new Japanese restaurant on London Road, which isn't too far from where we are. It's about a 20-minute walk. So there's just so many different things that you can try, and I'd recommend that you try all the new places instead of looking so much for things from home, because you can always go home and eat that later. Just enjoy and embrace the culture whilst you're here and all the different things that you can get whilst you are here.
Thank you. Yeah, Priyanka, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I will definitely recommend to try all the new places as well as all the different multi-cuisine restaurants. As you're in the UK, you can always try different cultures and different restaurants. So for example, till now, I have tried 8 to 10 different cuisines. So I've tried like Spanish, Turkish, Mexicans, and Italian. So just go out there and try as much as you can. For Indians, I would say that if you are really homesick and if you really want to have Indian food, there's a whole mile in here which is named as a Golden Mile. So you can just go over there and have if you're craving for like street food and everything, you can always go in there and have these great, amazing and tasty food.
Okay, well, it's good it's coming up to lunchtime because I'm starting to feel really hungry now after that discussion. But yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, and just to echo that, if you've not arrived in Leicester yet, I mean, Leicester's, the DMU is a city centre campus, so it's very close to the city centre. So as our students have said, all these kinds of foods are readily available and they're very close by the university. So that's great. So just moving on a little bit to studying. So if you've all come from perhaps different educational backgrounds, did you have any challenges when you started studying on your course? And if so, how did you address those? How about Priyanka? We should start with you.
Yeah, sure. So yes, obviously from our home country, it will be really different to that of the UK education system, I would say. So what I tried is there is a class which is available and it is on the library website. So if you go onto those and read all the things, and right now I'm attempting to get better marks in the assignment. So what they have is a whole HEAT, so higher education assignment toolkit, which I'm using so that you have what it is asked for example, in the assignment questions. So you can address those questions back, and there are all kind of, even I think there's an English language support group. So if there is, like, we have different kinds of English, which is like a standard English and an Indian English, a UK English, US English. So I would say, like, if you go on to those class and you will have different recommendations of how to acclimatize over here. So I would recommend all those things to be used.
Brilliant. Yeah, thanks, Priyanka. Nabila, anything you want to add? I think probably Priyanka's covered the main things, but Nabila or Dennis, anything to add to that?
Yeah, just to add to that, the Centre for Learning and Study Support, otherwise known as CLASS, do offer workshops during term time, just helping you with how to construct an introduction, what is critical evaluation, all of these things that you'll start to get familiar with as you're going along the course. So I would say, from my experience, when I started to struggle with the assessments, which I did very early on, I did get in touch with CLASS. They do these workshops. You can book everything online, and they are very, very helpful to help you understand exactly what is required of you at an academic level. And particularly with English, they do English support, they do math classes as well. So if you're really struggling in that department, there's always someone and somewhere that you can get the support that you need. And even just talking to your lecturers and just having a chat with them about what you might be struggling with, your personal tutor, which you'll be assigned sometime next week, I believe, they can kind of point you in the right direction as to where you can get the support that you might need and that you find necessary. But definitely the Centre for Learning and Study Support is very, very helpful. I saw the benefits of it very quickly, and they also offer some one-to-one support as well. So maybe later on in the year, if you start to see that you're getting consistent feedback that maybe you're not answering the question very well, you're being more descriptive than evaluating actually and providing an argument, you can take that to the library staff, and they can give you the support more focused to what your needs are rather than the overall workshop. So start with the overall workshops and then go on to the one-to-one support if you're still having trouble.
Thanks, Nabila. That's great. Anything you want to add to that, Dennis?
I think they covered everything, to be quite honest. The only other thing I would say is just whenever you're assigned your personal tutor, any sort of issues that you might be having, you can just have a conversation with your personal tutor, and then they would be able to guide you accordingly in terms of what additional services are available through the university. But
yeah, great. Thanks, all. That's great advice. So, yeah, just to emphasize again, Centre for Learning and Study Support, CLASS, fantastic support provision there based in the library. So do use that service, and also the Centre for English Language Learning. They also do, excuse me, they also provide in-course English language support. So yeah, please do use those services because they're both fantastic. Okay. So I just wanted to also mention, I suppose, in general terms, just a little bit about culture shock, because I think I mentioned it at the start of the week, but we're talking about settling in, and you might have heard this phrase, culture shock, which is what, the idea that you sometimes face when you arrive in a new country. So I suppose one of the general things I wanted to say really was to be kind to yourself when you first arrive. Because one thing that we always say to students is culture shock is normal, all right? So, it's normal when you first arrive to feel a little bit out of sync because everything's different. So do allow yourself some time I mean, you can tell from listening to Priyanka and Nabila and Dennis that they've all settled in really well. I think that probably took a little bit of time. I imagine they didn't all settle in instantly. It took a bit of time from what they've been saying. So do allow yourself time. Culture shock is normal. So I think sometimes students are quite hard on themselves and they think, oh, everyone else is settled in really well except me. And that isn't the case, okay? Everyone takes a little bit of time to adjust. So do be kind to yourself and do follow some of the advice that our 3 students have mentioned. So about stepping out of your comfort zone, about trying to meet people, about accessing the food you like. I think another thing's worth mentioning is exercise as well. So we've got the leisure centre, we've got all the different sports societies. You can do recreational sport, you don't have to do competitive sport. The DMU sport also do things like Zumba as well, things like that. So there's lots of different facilities available. So allow yourself a bit of time, don't put too much pressure on yourself. The other thing is I want to mention the Healthy DMU website. Okay, so Healthy DMU is a really good source of lots of different services and kind of different support provision about just general well-being. They also run what they call master classes. So they do these little sessions where you can basically kind of develop yourself. So things like self-confidence and fulfilling your potential, all those kinds of things. So do check out all these different things. Okay, I can see we've got another question come in. When you assigned your personal tutor? Now, I think was it Dennis mentioned that, or Nabila? Somebody mentioned that, when that was going to happen. I think that will start to happen probably from next week onwards. So we're often asked during International Welcome Week about when students will meet their teachers, when they'll get their personal tutor. It's not going to happen this week, and one of the reasons for that is at the moment we're just welcoming international students. From this weekend onwards, the home students from the UK are going to start arriving, and sort of course registration and induction will start to happen from next week, and then the week after is the first week of term. Is that your understanding of students? Yeah. So that's what I would suggest. So next week there'll be quite a lot of other induction activities starting to happen, and you'll start to get contact with your faculties from then. So I would say from next week onwards, you'll start to get information about your personal tutor and about your course. Okay. Just one other thing I wanted to say as well, just about meeting people. I mentioned our TRIPS program. We also have a buddy scheme as well called iBuddies, which is kind of like a befriending scheme. And the way that works is that we match new students with an existing student that's already here, usually from a different country. So you will probably get information about that by email. You might be able to join iBuddies once you're on campus, okay? So look out for information about that too. Okay, so has any of our students here, Dennis, Priyanka, Nabila, do you have any additional advice or any additional words or things you want to say to our new students? No pressure if you don't have anything else. But if you do.
For me, I think two things caught me off guard the most. Okay, well, not two. Let me say three. Thinking about it now, let's say three. The first thing that really caught me off guard was the cold. I knew I was coming to a cold place, but coming from the Caribbean, I think I underestimated what cold means. So that was definitely a shock of my life. I can remember when I arrived here, the first day when I came out of Heathrow Airport, I had on like a short sleeve shirt like this. And that was in September, and I turned right around, went back into the airport, opened my suitcase, and took out a jacket because I was like, "Yeah, this is not it at all." Right? So the cold is what caught me off guard. The time zones as well, that caught me off guard. So it did take me a while to adjust to the different time zone, especially being I think it was 5 hours ahead. And seeing the sun set at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that really caught me off guard. And finally is finances wise, where I realized that it's actually very affordable, as a student in Leicester. Contrary to other beliefs, I think one of the things that I would definitely encourage you guys to do is bulk shop. Whenever you do bulk shopping, it definitely saves a lot of money. And when I tell people how much I spend monthly on food and groceries, they watch me as if like I'm a crazy man. Because I buy in bulk, I buy enough to last me 2 months if I can. I'm so serious. Like when I buy rice, I buy like those 10 pound bag of rice. That lasts me months. The same thing with pasta. I buy a good amount of it. Toiletries as well. The only thing that I really and truly buy a lot like that is let's say like meat kind, but it's not even really that much. I could just buy and then just put it in my fridge, in my freezer for a long period of time. So normally per month, I would spend between 50 quid, you could say, even less than that, to be honest. Um, Bulk buying, bulk shopping, excellent way to save money. And even if your meal plan as well, that saves you a lot of time and saves you a lot of money because sometimes you don't want when you come home after a long day at work, but when I say work at uni, I'm also like a big grown working man already. When you come home from uni, you don't want the hassle of going to cook. Oh my goodness, it is such a hassle after a long day of lectures and seminars that you have to go home and cook. That is so tiring. And as much as I love cooking, I'm a foodie. Man, I just get so frustrated having to sit through a 3 hour lecture and I have to go home to cook. Yeah. Best thing you could do is cook on maybe like a Sunday. I cook enough to last me the entire week. Yeah, I that's what I do. I cook a lot of food, right? And just package it into containers. Containers are very affordable. I think a pack of 5 is for like 150. I think it is. So yeah, just cook for the entire week, put it in the fridge, and you're good to go. Come out of class, just warm it up, and you're good to go. Yeah, those are my three. That was three. Yeah, those are my three.
Thanks, Dennis. They're great suggestions, great advice. I think it's worth mentioning. Thanks, by the way, for all that suggestions about budgeting and shopping. So we do have a team in the university, Student Finance and Welfare. They did a session earlier in the week, and they can provide assistance or at least guidance with things like money management and budgeting. If you're having trouble organizing your finances, so do give them a shout. I can see before we move on, I can see we've got a question here about cooking gas. Is cooking gas scarce? So, well, no, I would say is the answer to that, really. I know there's been a lot in the news about gas prices. There's no issue about availability of gas to cook with. Okay, so I don't think that's something that you need to be worried about. I mean, if you're living in a hall of residence, that's something you might want to ask them. But I think generally the answer to that is no. There's no problem about cooking gas. So we'll move on. Nabila, anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, so just to touch back on what you said about culture shock and not being too hard on yourself. I remember when I first moved here, I struggled a lot with the different accents that are present in the UK. Just the immigration officer at the airports and just talking to people in general. I did spend a week just smiling and nodding because I was really struggling to understand. So don't be, again, to echo what Andy said, don't be too hard on yourself. You'll soon climatize and it'll start to make sense to you as you go along. And don't be afraid to just tell people that I'm really sorry. Can you talk a bit slower because I don't understand. And yeah, it's totally normal, and you'll probably have all of these different experiences. And I remember walking through town and somebody said, "Hey up, me duck." I didn't know how to respond to that. He called me a duck, and I was like, I didn't know what to say. So it's completely normal to feel a bit just out of sorts, I guess, with what people are saying sometimes. But you'll definitely get there. Just don't be too hard on yourself. The other thing to kind of build on what Dennis said about budgeting and food and stuff. Try and sign up to as many student discount apps as you possibly can. Uni Days is a lifesaver. You'll be getting 20% off places, 35% off Adidas at the minute. You'll even get discounts for if you want to buy any computers, phones, laptops, whatever. So definitely sign up to as many of those as you possibly can. And really just overall advice is don't be shy, don't be scared. Just take, like Dennis has said again and again, get out of your comfort zone, get involved with things, get involved with volunteering. If there are any global trips or any trips happening within the city or in the country, go on those trips, because you just have no idea where things might lead and who you might meet in the process. So just take advantage of all of the opportunities. At DMU, there are always things going on. There's language classes and cultural things going on, and conferences and workshops and things that happen. So make sure you check your emails. We'll get internal communication emails once a week. I know sometimes it's easy to just be like, it's not important. But if you go down and you read stuff, you'll find out about all of these different events that are happening that will be very, very useful to you. So just make sure that you stay on top of that and sign up to receive updates from Student Gateway, even from DMU Local. Even if you don't get involved in everything, there might be something that stands out to you that you want to get involved in, and you'll find out about it. So just make sure that you do keep on top of all of that, because you just never know where you might end up. I've ended up in Singapore once, got a cool opportunity, so you just never know.
Brilliant. Thanks, Nabila. But before we move on to Priyanka, we've got a couple of questions. So we've got a question about coffee. What do you guys do about coffee? I'm not sure how we answer that, really. I think it probably depends on what kind of coffee you like. Has anybody got any thoughts about coffee?
Nabs is the coffee queen, so yeah.
There are literally hundreds of coffee shops in town that you can go to. Just the other day, I had a really nice caramel iced latte at a cafe called Orso, which isn't far from campus. It's like maybe 15-minute walk. There's 200 degrees. There's like 5 different coffee shops on campus alone. There's the Riverside Cafe, there's the coffee shop in the Students' Union, there's coffee shop in the Hugh Aston building. There's literally coffee everywhere, so you won't struggle with coffee, believe me.
Yeah, any other comments on coffee? No? Okay, I mean, I think, really summed it up. Go on, Dennis, sorry.
All right, I was saying I'm a tea person. I rather tea morning, noon, and night rather than coffee, so yeah, I leave all the coffee stuff up to Nabila. She's the coffee queen.
I think quite a lot of coffee places now, you can get your coffee a bit cheaper if you take your own cup. I think certainly on campus, the coffee places on campus, if you take your own cup, you can get it a little bit cheaper. It's a sustainability thing. So, and then before we move on to Priyanka, I was just going to pick up the question we've had about accommodation. So, in terms of accommodation, is it easy or difficult to find affordable and comfortable accommodation near the university after the first year? Are there any specific websites and links that promote accommodation? So I'm assuming that means not Hall's accommodation. I mean, obviously DMU has got its own accommodation office, and there's Hall's accommodation via DMU. Have any of you got any comments about looking for accommodation? Was that Nabila? Was that a hand up? Or yeah?
Yeah. The one thing I'd say in Leicester, it's primarily become a student city, so there's plenty of student accommodation literally all across the city, and a lot that are very close to DMU. There's a lot of private accommodation that's offered. There's also private housing that's offered. And the best way I would say to find it is just to put in Google student accommodation in Leicester, and you will see just lists and lists of places that you can look at in terms of accommodation for next year. You are welcome to stay on campus if you wanted to in the accommodation that we offer, though, so you don't have to move out after the first year. Unlike other universities, you would be able to remain in DMU accommodation. But in terms of private accommodation, there's lots and lots of different places that you can look into if you just do a quick Google search. And it's really good that you asked this question now, because if you start looking from now for next year, it will be good, because they do get booked out quite quickly. So it is good to start exploring those options from now, so that you kind of know where you stand, and then you can book if you do wish to move out of the DMU accommodation.
Thanks. Yeah. Anybody else on accommodation?
Yeah, Sulets, you can definitely use Sulets with the student union. They do help a lot with accommodation as well. One of the things that I did, I used Rightmove, I think it was .com. I think it was, yeah, Rightmove. That's how I'm able to find the current place that I'm in right now, because I've been private accommodation, private housing. So I just looked at rightmove.com, and I just made sure that the different places that I looked at, they were student friendly. Yeah, and there are a few other websites that you can find, but as Nabila said, all you have to really and truly do is just type into Google um, student accommodation, really and truly. Um, and when you're looking at the different agents, you could ask other students, hey, have you ever heard about such and such agency? Like, how are they? Do they treat you fairly and what's not? So, yeah, these are things that you could actually look at.
Even I would say that if you're finding an accommodation, be aware that you should be like really near the campus so that you don't want to be doing long walks in the morning when you're really, really late for any kind of lecture. And with the agents and everything, you have, if you go on these walks, of course, you will come across all these agencies which are there. So, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, the other thing I just add about accommodation is there's a team in the Students' Union, DSU Advice, who can advise on things like contracts. So they can check a housing contract for you and make sure that it's kind of okay. We always sort of say to students, don't rush into signing a contract, because contracts can be different in different cultures. And in the UK, if you sign a contract, then you're basically bound to it. So you won't be able to leave the contract early without perhaps paying some money or something like that. So just be aware of that. We've sometimes come across students who've signed more than one contract, and then they're hoping to then later choose the one they prefer. But once you've signed a contract, then you're going to have to stick to it. So do get advice from DSU Advice if you've got any concerns about your housing contract. We've got some more questions coming in, but I'll just come back to Priyanka, because we were going around, weren't we, just seeing if you had any additional things you wanted to add. So sorry to come back to you late, Priyanka. Was there anything else you wanted to add, just in general terms about settling in?
Yeah, so the most important thing while you are settling in is every single day, do look out on the weather app, whether it's going to rain, whether it's going to be a sunshine, because you never know. And always see it on an hourly basis, because that's my personal experience. When you go out, you look at the weather, it looks sunny, but after an hour it's going to rain, so you never know. So always carry an umbrella, wear like rainproof shoes or something, and then go out. So that is the one most important thing that I would like to say.
Thank you. Very good advice. Very good advice. Yeah, the weather in the UK is very changeable. So yeah, that's very, very sage advice.
I still make that mistake now. I forget to look outside. I'm thinking, oh, the sun's out. It feels warm, and instantly regret it.
Well, me too. And I've lived here all my life. So, yeah, it's the same, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got another question here. Cycling or walking, what will you suggest? And I'll throw that open to...
Oh, I would walk. I would suggest walking. If you're going out in the town, and if you're going just like to grab a cup of coffee or to have a quick lunch, just walk from the university. But if you're going like a really far place, only then I would suggest like cycling.
Okay. Nabila?
I would say that it is useful to have a bike. If you need to do shopping and stuff, it's a little bit easier to transport stuff on a bike. But also, sometimes a journey that could take 30 minutes walking might take 10 minutes on a bike, especially if you're walking a bit further away. So what a lot of my friends did is they bought cheap bikes off like Facebook Marketplace or Gumtree, and that you can find like cheap bikes. And then at the university we have a bike store where you can securely keep your bike if you wanted to. And there's the security team will kind of give you more advice about how to keep your bike safe. But even if it's like a cheap bike, if it gets stolen, it's not the end of the world, which is why my friends bought cheap bikes. But I would say that if you are not much of a walker, which I realize a lot of people aren't, it might be good for you to have a bike, just for when you need to travel a little bit further. I personally love walking. When I first came to the UK, having never walked ever, it used to take me like an hour to get anywhere. But now I can speed walk, and Dennis can really tell me how fast I walk. But yeah, I think a bike is useful to have if you're not really into walking as much. So both.
Dennis?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Dennis, go ahead.
For me, I'm lazy, so for me, I would choose to stay home. But on a serious note, I would think walking. For me, I'll choose walking over cycling. But if you want to cycle, we do have the electric bikes that are around the city center that you can always rent as well. Once you download the app and once you have a membership with the app as well, you could always just use that. But I'll say walking, because you could get to anywhere from DMU within the city center within like a few minutes of just walking. But you could always rent the electric bikes, because there are I think two or three different stations actually on campus for the electric bikes. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Dennis. Yeah. I mean, Leicester's quite two things really. Leicester's quite a compact city, but it's also it's not too hilly, so it's quite good for cycling. And there's lots of cycle lanes have been built in recent years, so it's a pretty good place for cycling. But I guess, like the students have said, it kind of depends how far away you live, really, as to whether you get a bike or not. But perhaps arrive and see how you feel. And as Nabila said, DMU security can often loan you a really good lock for your bike as well. There's lots of provision for cyclists on campus. So yeah, whatever works for you, really, I think. I was going to mention just I think it came back to something Dennis had said earlier about arriving and about what he brought in his suitcase. That made me think that sometimes we meet students who probably bring more than they need to bring. So in the past, when we've done pickups in the airport, we've certainly come across students who bought their own rice cookers and bought cooking oil and things like that. And it's perhaps worth just mentioning that you can buy an awful lot of stuff in Leicester pretty cheaply. So, don't worry about bringing kitchen equipment and that kind of thing. You can buy things like bedding in Leicester quite easily and quite cheaply. And again, students who are already here can advise you about the best places to go and where to buy stuff as well. So that's something else to think about perhaps as well. So, okay, so I don't think we've got any more questions right now, but I think it's been a really good session. So thanks to Priyanka and Nabila and Dennis for everything that you've suggested. I think that's fantastic advice. There's a lot of things you said that I would never have thought of. And it's always really good, to get the student perspective, I think. So we're really grateful to you for joining us, and I hope all the students have found it useful that are watching us. So also just to mention, if you do think of anything else after this session is finished, you can email us. We're International Student Support, and our email address is ISS. That stands for International Student Support. So iss@dmu.ac.uk. And we've had one more question. Let's see if we can squeeze this one in. Can we give links to where you can buy cheap stuff? You can email us, and we can certainly give you advice about that, I would say. The other thing as well is, again, ask around to students, and they'll definitely be able to give you advice, but we can do that too. So thanks ever so much, everyone, for joining us. We've really enjoyed it. I hope you have too. And the last thing really, I suppose, is just to wish you a really happy and successful time at De Montfort University. We're looking forward to meeting you in person. All the best, and we hope to see you soon. Thanks a lot. And thanks to all our students.